Yeah, Jason and Margot, firefighters still trying to battle this, but right now I can tell you these winds are picking up, and we're just east of the fire, and I can actually feel the heat of this fire. It is that intense. Now, take a live look at it burning right now. I'm told this is at a PG&E power pole yard. Now, that fuel is really igniting this fire. We've seen the flames just in an intense orange, and then just they keep billowing up into the sky. We have seen firefighter after firefighter. I'm told from Fresno fire officials that due to the fuel load here, and there's also a lack of hydrants, this fire has been particularly challenging this morning. Now, we are live along Ashcroft and Brawley, and if you take a look here, we've got a fire truck passing us by. They are in this area trying to fight this fire, but the problem is getting that water. Now, they've actually connected quite a bit of, they're trying to connect to this hydrant right over my shoulder here, and you can imagine how far that is just to go around a business and try to use what water they have to fight this fuel. Now, we have to let you know at this time, the traffic will be impacted later by this. We were driving off Highway 99 and continue to see just these large flames billowing into the sky. So something you want to recognize. We know traffic was pulling over to allow firefighters a chance to get the upper hand on this fire. But this is changing minute by minute. We have seen these intense flames continue to just billow and continue to just go. As you can imagine, just that amount of wood, it is burning fast. And Fresno fire officials are doing what they can right now to fight this fire, to get some water on it so they can monitor it. Now, Margot and Jason, back to you guys in the studio.
Amanda, thankfully, it looks like the smoke and the flames are billowing away from your location. Are you the air quality now? What does it feel like? What does it smell like?
Yeah, we're on the east side of the fire, so we feel the wind actually blowing it this way. I want to show you now, Margot, a little bit more of kind of how this is going. We're on the east side of the direction, so we're not smelling the smoke. I can feel the heat. I can feel the intensity, but we see it more going to a south direction. It's actually billowing, going back into the sky, and the wind is pushing it to the west, more of our direction, southwest of our direction. So at this time, although I cannot smell the smoke, I can definitely feel just how warm it is from here, and that breeze is definitely picking up.
A dangerous situation out there. We're glad you're safe. We could see one fire engine behind you. How many firefighters do you see? Can you estimate? Is it a dozen? Is it a couple dozen firefighters there?
Yeah, Jason, I would say it's been a while since I've been to a fire of this size. I've seen at least a dozen fire trucks, and that all has a few firefighters on them. I would say close to 40 to 50 firefighters out here. You don't always see them. They're actually pulling up and trying to get closer, using nearby businesses to get as close as they can. I've seen a lot of firefighters walking along the perimeter of the fire, trying to assess what they can do, but also allow this fire to continue to burn. The firefighter I also have next to me, an engineer, he's hooked up to a water source. So he's doing his best to get the water from the side of the street all the way back around the corner so that they can use that water supply. But I can tell you a very large amount of firefighters out on the scene this morning, and the challenging part is trying to find any hydrants that they have, because there's not many out here.
Amanda, we are looking at your live pictures right now, stacks upon stacks of these telephone poles on fire. We also know that these poles are coated with a substance, and it could be flammable. It could be fueling these flames right now. But what a fuel for a fire this morning. Wooden telephone poles that will just ignite each other in a split second.
Yeah, and you can imagine, as fire season goes on, we've said, as soon as something ignites, it really starts going. But seeing it here right in the city of Fresno, it is a sight, because you can just see these are very massive power poles. I mean, they are very large, the kind you see in your neighborhood, and they are just igniting one after the other, just lighting on fire. I mean, there's a very large stack, one right after the other. You can imagine the fire just propelling through each and every one of those, and the smoke, you can see it from miles away. So that gives you an idea of the intensity of this fire.
I want to also ask you about the challenge that you mentioned for Fresno firefighters and the lack of hydrants in this area. We're assuming it's an industrial park. Is there a single hydrant there that's across the street and around the corner, as you mentioned, that's really kind of delaying their efforts to get water on these flames?
This is an industrial commercial area, so we're looking at a lot of places that are doing business here, so you could be impacted if your business is near here later. But I can tell you there's one fire hydrant right over here on this street. We pulled up looking for a fire hydrant. We couldn't see one, and then we saw this engineer here. He is monitoring the very latest, but there is a lack of fire hydrants in the area, and that is proving to be a challenge for these firefighters. They're trying to get as close as they can, trying to make sure they have enough hose so they can reach from one fire hydrant to the area that they can so they can suppress the fire.
And obviously, you know, Amanda, it's dark right now, and we're just waiting for the sunlight to come out. And when the sunlight does come out, to make it a little bit easier to see, obviously it's going to be a lot warmer, a lot hotter for the firefighters to battle the flames.
Yeah, as the day goes on, I know they'll be monitoring this fire, trying to put it out, but definitely they'll be able to see that. One thing that we're not talking about so much is the wind. You know, I had a piece of paper here just a second ago, and it literally was it picked up so much that it flew across the way. So my photographer, if you can kind of see that, there is quite a bit of wind in this area, and I'm sure that's not helping firefighters either. So there is a lack of fire hydrants in the area, and there is some wind picking up. So with all this going on, they have quite a challenging morning.
Also, Amanda, we're now zoomed in close to one of the stacks of the poles. We can kind of see some wire fencing around it. Are these poles in a contained area so firefighters maybe are less concerned with the flames jumping to another business and threatening maybe a nearby building if these poles are contained within a yard?
The power poles are contained within a yard, but there are adjacent businesses. There are fences all around this area, but there are some adjacent businesses. So I know they're keeping a close eye to see which way the fire moves, which way the smoke goes, and hopefully that none of those embers travel anywhere else. And that's the other thing with this wind, is monitoring where that could go. But you know, it is in an area that it is in a 1 yard, so they are taking a look at that. I will let you know there are some power poles that run through the area, so that's been something we've noticed as well, being out here on the fire.